this is the chapter 7 and 8 summary. We're going to go ahead and begin at the beginning of chapter 7. So Ralph begins to remember the comforts of his home in the beginning of this chapter. It's kind of like unclear what's happening, but he is daydreaming. He's thinking of how things were back when things were more stable. You know, society had structure, as we all experience currently, right? Where we aren't on an island stranded having to fight for our lives and food. You know, when we're hungry, we can go and see what's in our fridge, and we're very fortunate, right? Well, imagine your world being turned upside down and now you're on an island fighting for your life. That is Ralph. So he begins to think of his home and missing what he used to have when he was safe and happy. So as he's daydreaming, he does get distracted because there's the sound of all these boys running through, and they're hunting a wild boar for food. And Ralph kind of gets involved from afar, and he throws his spear and he actually punctures this wild boar. And immediately he gets energized, he gets excited because he has accomplished something he's never done before, you know, hurting a living creature. The boys begin to reenact the failed hunt, because it did fail. They didn't actually catch the wild boar, and they begin to, you know, play pretend, just kind of like what you may have done in elementary. Maybe you played cops and robbers, or you played bad guy and the good guy. But that's kind of what they do. They play pretend, and they are pretending somebody is the boar or the pig, and this boy is running around like a wild animal, and all the boys pretend to spear him. Well, unfortunately, Robert pretends to be the boar, and the boys frighten Robert with their aggression. They actually start actually pricking him and getting a little too close to real life, which is definitely something to note. Ralph and Jack decide to look for the beast after dark. And there's definitely a power struggle between them, because I don't know if you remember the last chapter, the twins are the ones that saw the silhouette of the parachute, which they thought was the beast. And now Ralph and Jack are on the hunt for this beast, which we all know isn't an actual monster. Roger is also following them. And as they go up to the mountain, Ralph realizes that this decision is not smart. It's dark, things could go wrong. But Jack still decides to go all the way up the mountain. But Jack comes back with the report of a beast, because guess what? He does see a silhouette, this dark figure kind of breathing and moving, which is the parachute moving in the wind, which gets misconstrued as a beast. So they all retreat from the mountain. They're all freaking out, and all they see obviously is a silhouette of a rock-like hump where no rock should be. That's how it's listed in the novel. So this is chapter 7. This is obviously, we know the boys' actions are being driven by their fear of this unknown beast. There's definitely more persistent struggling between Jack and Ralph as well. We're going to move on to chapter 8. So now we are moving on into the novel, and I will be honest with you, it gets darker, okay? It gets a little bit more aggressive. So Jack comes down and he convinces the boys, that Ralph is a coward. He rallies the boys to an assembly. He uses the conch, and he basically is trying to let all the boys know not to follow Ralph, because he is not the one that went up the mountain to look for this beast, and that this leader is only talk. After Jack leaves, there is kind of a sense of relief and order, because things are going back to normal. The fire's priority, nothing bad, currently is happening. But Ralph and Piggy begin to realize that some of the boys are leaving to go with Jack, which is not obviously great. We have more division. Simon then, who is still on Ralph's side, decides to leave and to the forest, and that's where Jack and his group are currently. So Simon is on his way. He's kind of just, not that he's looking for Jack and his group, but more so that he's just going and trying to find something, because Simon is very analytical. He's more to himself, but he is very intuitive. It's like he knows something is going to happen. Jack and his group, they find a family of pigs. And this is very like graphic when you read, but they see a mom and a mom pig with her babies, and she's breastfeeding them, right? We all know mammals have to breastfeed and to keep their young alive, right? And instead of having any sort of remorse or any sort of like compassion towards babies, especially in a mom and motherhood, they completely see it as an opportunity to attack violently. And they kill the babies, they kill the mother pig, the sow. They stake her head on a spear and they leave it in the forest. It's very graphic, I know. But as Simon is obviously kind of feeling led into the forest, he sees the head of this pig. And this is where the book kind of turns more spiritual and a little yeah, it's darker, but don't get scared. It's not something that you should be scared about. But this part of the book, the novel turns into giving commentary of evil and the Lord of the Flies. That's the name of our book, right? This pig's head begins to speak to Simon. Don't envision like an actual its mouth moving. It's more of like a spiritual like insight, and it's not good. It's not a pure spiritual insight. It's an evil spiritual insight. It begins to speak to Simon, um, and in this specific chapter, you won't actually read about what this sow is saying, you know, exactly. It's kind of like unclear. It says to like we're gonna have fun on this island, kind of warning. But you be aware that please read through. I know it can get kind of confusing, but this is very, very important to really see where this novel is going. Um, so Jack and his crew, as this is happening with Simon, they go to Ralph's camp to retrieve fire to cook the pig they caught. So they invite Ralph's group to come and join them. At the very end, Simon realizes that this evil, this beast that is going on, that is on the island, is inescapable. And that's something I just want to leave you with. Do you think it's a real beast? Obviously, we know about the parachute, but do you think there's something greater that's happening on this island? So take time to read through. I hope these two summaries do help you get through the reading. I appreciate you taking the time to listen, and I hope you have an amazing weekend.